What I thought I'd do, I was saying earlier, is I'll just give a little bit of an introduction to who I am, and then we'll have a chat about those issues that I bring up, and then maybe you could just all throw your hats into the ring, and we'll get as many of your comments and questions out there. Is that okay? All right. So some of you may know me, certainly from the Back to 60 group, the campaigners. They will know me on there. Some of you will have heard me, I think, on radio interviews and TV speaking. So my position and where I'm hoping to go from today is I'm a retired nurse with intensive care and research nursing background. I'm a 50s woman, more importantly, born in 1953. So I was one of those women that was twice hiked. I know some of you had your pension age hiked up to 3 times. I was just short of my 65th birthday when I retired, and I know some of you are having to go to 66 and possibly 67. So pretty awful times, really. So what I'd like to really talk about, because what I was really interested in, is those women that are now still working, that are 60 plus and still working during COVID. So COVID has had a devastating effect on all of us, with many of us having had people who've been affected by the disease. So just a little bit, this is my understanding of COVID, and I don't know if any of you managed to watch Dr. Kanya's amazing lecture last week. I did. It was very, very revealing. And one thing that I didn't know was how a pandemic came about, and particularly a zoonotic pandemic, one that comes from animals. So it's very interesting to see that the main way these things happen is that two animals that don't normally meet in their normal day-to-day life are put together in very stressed conditions. They then shed the viruses that they naturally contain in their bodies and don't do any harm to humans for the most part. They shed this virus, and then one of them, in this case it's probably the bat, then collects the virus from the other animal. Those two viruses, they then lodge in the poor bat, and then they start to mutate. So basically they take bits of DNA from each of the viruses and make a brand new virus, which is where COVID has come in, and what led to previous SARS virus and the MERS virus in the past. So where does that leave us as 1950s women? I mean, the issue really is that this disease, it is a serious disease. You know, let's make no mistake, we've lost in excess of 45,000 people according to official figures, and estimated at around about 65,000 people, including several health workers who've been highly exposed and who also were not provided with appropriate PPE and personal protective equipment. So, you know, this has been really a massive problem. And we are now left with people, both men and women, but obviously our interest here is in 1950s born women who lost their pension, having to work at 60 plus in quite often frontline positions. It might be nursing. Obviously I can talk more about that because I know that subject, but it could also be in frontline retail, food shops, anywhere really where they have to face the public full on. So and I think the issue has been for me, and the thing that I've been very, very distressed about, is that the government have failed to recognise the World Health Organization advice that once you reach 60, there is a massive big step change of risk of serious outcome for people who catch coronavirus. And so at 60 plus, it goes up to, according to Worldometers, to about 3.6% from, you know, quite low percentages under that age. But the government persists in saying that it is only 70 plus that are at risk. Now, the outcome of that is that the 60 plus people are not protected and have to work. And what I'd really like to talk about today, and just to see what you think about this, is, well, one, what do you think about how the government has handled this issue? What would you like to see maybe happen, and you know, how could you be helped? And maybe just tell your story so that we can get it out there now ahead of the appeal, which is going to be held next Thursday, 21st and 20 Wednesday and Thursday, 21st and 22nd of July. So it's quite important that we get to talk about some of these issues and look at the different angles and the different ways that people have been affected, and what is being put in place by your managers to protect you. Now, just as an example, Jambo, it's okay for me to talk, is it? Am I able to speak on this subject? Oh, thank you. I'm going to just have a quick look and just see. I can see that you've been saying some things. That here we are. This is one example. So we've got here, Julie Newman says, I'm 61, working as an HCA, that's a healthcare assistant, 32 hours a week, working on a high care ward, which is quite scary. Can you tell me, Julie, have you been protected in any way? Anything being put in place for you to keep you safe? Do you get special treatment because you're 60 plus? Or do you get no help at all? You know, maybe just go down and I'll have a look and see if you've answered me. So one of the things that happens as well is at 60, quite often, the reason the risk gets higher is that people, as they get older, naturally their own immune system will slow down or become less effective as you get older. A natural process of the aging process. Regardless of whether we think we're young at heart, in actual fact, these things do slow down. And additionally, the other risk is that we might have comorbidities or underlying health conditions, some of which we'll know about, and some which may in fact be undiagnosed, which increase our risk. So known risks are things like heart failure, diabetes is top of the list, and also kidney disease. And there's also evidence now to say that this virus attacks very many different organs in the body, and they've discovered it's affecting us neurologically, cardiovascularly, again kidney, and obviously those with diabetes and obesity is also another risk factor. And sometimes people put weight on in later life because of their underlying conditions, like might be, in my case, it was arthritis, which led to some operations which stopped me doing the exercise that I used to do, and I was on crutches on and off for several years. So there are many reasons why you might be put into a more high risk category. So I think, for me, I feel like the government haven't looked after us really, about this, or put in place, things that might have mediated a little bit of our risk. For example, I thought that maybe those at 60 plus could have been put into less risky positions with a bit of planning, and they could have trained up the younger ones who are at less risk. They're not without risk, we do know that and we do recognise that, but maybe they could have been trained up to do the more risky positions. That's in the healthcare service. And again, I don't know, in the retail side, there may be positions that you could have taken that might have made your job a little bit safer. Let's have a look and see what people have said. Mandy's working full-time in an office, 14 months to go till retirement at 66. So there's a big debate, isn't there, going on at the moment about face masks and how we look after each other in an office environment. Are they going to treat that as another bubble? It seems like, you know, they've got so many different bubbles. I feel quite confused as to what's safe and what isn't safe. I mean, luckily for me, I can shield. You know, I'm at home, I'm on my own. You know, sadly, can't see my grandkids like many of you, although I did manage to see them once since the rules have been relaxed a little. So all of us are having sort of different issues with this. However, you know, if you're working and if you don't have your pension, what choice do you have? You know, you have to work. So, you know, I would like to ask, you know, what is the government's duty of care on this? Let me have a little look, see what else it's saying. Government are useless. So Helen's working in retail. Yeah, Christine, my NHS risk assessment came out as low risk and it's very concerning. This must be because they're working. See, on the government's age 70. Yes, I would agree. I would agree with that. I've got a friend of mine, so she's an Asian lady, so she's at high risk because she's in the black and ethnic minority group. So she's also got a husband, also BAME, who she's shielding, and he's disabled. She's working in a department where she's been told she must work with COVID patients because that's the work of the department. She has been recently working just doing admin, and they're now saying that despite there being younger nurses within the department, that she should be the one that does the very high risk COVID testing, so the throat swabs and things like this. So what she's doing, she's talking with her union. And I think her, like you, Christine, her risk assessment came out as low according to her manager. However, she's not seen a copy of this, so I think it will be very interesting to see what happens, you know, further on down the line with this lady. So she's due to retire next year. She's just 65 now. Okay, so thank you. So I've also heard of another case. I'll just give you, this is a very sad case actually. Let me just I'm going to read this to you from an email. Okay, so this lady's sister, she's a 63 to 64-year-old nurse. She has a struggle working with a debilitating illness called fibromyalgia, and she's had that for many years. Now, for those of you who don't know what fibromyalgia is, it is extremely painful muscle condition, excruciatingly painful. You have bad days and worse days. I don't think you have particularly good days, and I know this lady hasn't had good days lately. So she should have retired 4 years ago when she was 60, but she's had to carry on working because the government stole 6 years from her state pension. So she's one of the ladies that is having to work till 66, an extra 6 years. While working as a nurse, she caught COVID-19 through having to share personal protective equipment, PPE as it's known. She's been recovering from that COVID now for 10 weeks. Well, actually it'll be about 11 weeks now. But unfortunately she's had a bad relapse, and this is something, you know, that we can go into. There is evidence now to say that people, even if they've not been admitted to hospital with serious disease and they're managing at home, their illness is going on quite often months, and people aren't recovering very quickly. So she's had this relapse. Her sister says it's all so wrong at her age. She still had 2 full years to work, and we need our pension now with full restitution. And you know, here to that, most definitely full restitution is the only solution to our issue. So this poor lady, she has no idea how she's going to find the strength to carry on, but she has to, as like all of us, money is needed. If our SP had been paid out at age 60 as promised, she would not have been in this situation. And her sister had to write this email. She couldn't even find the strength to do that simple task, and that made me cry when I read this. But there are many cases, I'm sure, very, very similar to this. It's just awful. So Teresa, 63, working in a nursing home, 12-hour shifts, barrier nursing due to COVID cases, and it's a nightmare. And I mean, this is another area where we've been very, very badly let down. Where the PPE didn't, the PPE, they said they had it, the government said they had it, but they promised they were sending it out to and had supplied it to hospitals, but then it came out that in actual fact they had a distribution problem and it wasn't reaching certain hospitals. And I knew that because I've got friends working in nursing both in the northwest and in the south, and they were saying to me, we haven't got PPE, we're having to manage with gloves, we're having to manage with little flimsy aprons. And I had a friend of mine, she is a nurse who came from overseas, and well, actually not a nurse, she's a physiologist. She came from overseas, works here, works with patients with severe respiratory conditions. And she said she just feels betrayed, you know, because she was being made to work with these patients who very seriously ill, at high risk, with just gloves and a flimsy apron and not the proper protective equipment that would protect her patients. She wasn't even worried about herself. She was worried about her patients, which is how, you know, this has been my experience of my colleagues that I work with. We tend not to think of ourselves, we're thinking of the patients. However, at 60 plus, I think it is time that we, you know, thought about ourselves as well. And thought about the effects on our families if we have to work and leave them. And I'm sure some of you have got, like I have, I've got children and I've got grandchildren who, you know, they're having to work and might have benefited from me helping out with the children a little bit sooner than at 65. And as you get older, you're less able to help out because your fitness goes. So, you know, that's my personal experience. And then looking at the nursing home people, it's generally older people who look after the older, even older generation, and they were working without PPE. So I'm very sorry to hear you're working so hard. 12-hour shifts, they're bad on everybody. We shouldn't work in 12-hour shifts at 63. It's ridiculous, really. Karen, my shielding could end soon as my employer local government referred to TV for guidelines. Wow. So again, you know, because I have contacts within the health service, I have a couple of people who are shielding relatives, and they're also now being asked to go back. So these are particularly a little bit younger than us, you know, in their 50s, but still with young children that they need to mind. And I think, again, the government hasn't thought really of the impact on, you know, women maybe who are single women looking after children. The schools aren't back fully yet they put the cart before the horse and say, well, you need to go to work. And the stress on these families is dreadful. Jen, oh, congratulations, you're retired. That's fantastic. Oh, you were in retail. It seemed like a never-ending road, if you will. Congratulations, and I hope you can enjoy your retirement. Janet Jones, I'm working from home and I go into the office when no one else is there. I hope I can continue with that for some time. I'm broaching that with my boss tomorrow. Janet, good luck with that. I hope you can get that sorted out. Oh, welcome, Helen. Helen's a friend of mine. Nice to see you on here. Hello, Mo. Lovely to see you here. Our cat herder. She knows what I mean by that, I'm sure. Eileen, well done. Yeah, everybody's wishing all the best in the retirement. That's lovely. Hi, Helen. Oh, Karen, own your own business with heart failure. Oh, that's a terrible dilemma. So you're at high risk and no help for you? I'm really sorry to hear this. Um, Again, Angela, 30 now, shifts in care. At 65 and 9 months, I mean, that is just ridiculous. I would be on my knees. I couldn't do it now, I'll be honest with you. I just couldn't. Mandy, 65 in September, went off sick for 8 weeks as I was not happy with the level of safety measures our office put in place. Had to go back yesterday as I'm struggling on statutory sick pay. And this is the issue. I mean, you know, statutory sick pay and no pension, I mean, you can't manage, can you? And, you know, many of us are in rented accommodation now. I mean, some women, I should say. I certainly am. I'm in rented accommodation because I sold my house. I made that decision because I wasn't getting my pension. I don't know what your circumstances are Mandy. Oh, sorry, we disconnected there. We all have our bills to pay, don't we? And for those women who are in, you know, the gig economy, on doing the sorts of jobs where you pay just, you know, weekly, you don't know when your next wage is coming in, what are you going to do? You know, I don't know what there is for you. If you should decide it's too unsafe for you to work, so you go out and you work and you take this massive risk with this deadly virus. I'm so very sorry, Mandy. Diane, high blood pressure, on meds, arthritis, still work 0 hours contracts, exactly what I was just talking about. I have to, exhausted, and it takes me an hour to get out of bed and dress because of the pain. Daughter dresses me when really bad. I'm so sorry, Diane. Arthritis is such an awful disease. I have a friend, her sister is suffering with this, and it's so painful. It's not right, is it? You know, really. We just need to make sure that people do understand that what is happening and what has been done to women who've been the backbone of society. It's not like we've had it easy, you know, throughout our working lives. We've had to fight for absolutely everything, haven't we? You know, you couldn't get a mortgage, you couldn't get a loan. You know, the pensions, I mean, you know, certainly within the NHS, I joined it later, but they put you into a pension that actually affects your state pension. I was never told about that. I was never told about any of the changes that affected my pension. And, you know, I think this is what we've been up against: discrimination and downright withholding of information as well. And then actually telling porkies about it, which is unforgivable, really. Jeanette, my doctor wrote a letter so I could self-isolate for 12 weeks as my COPD didn't warrant a shielding letter. But as soon as 12 weeks were up, my firm said I had to go back, so I'm working full-time again. Oh, Jeanette. So my part of my job, I've worked in respiratory research, and I did work with respiratory conditions within the Brompton Hospital when I worked in London. And COPD is a dreadful condition, and yeah, most certainly I would have thought that would have been into the identified illnesses. I have absolutely no idea why it isn't. And this just means that you have to work and you have to face the virus, which is not good. So Brenda, oh, you caught the virus in March and very ill for weeks. Luckily you survived. Still work full time despite having underlying health issues. I had to return to the office. Oh my goodness, Brenda. Roll on the 11th of September, which will finally be my last day in work. So hope our claim wins this time. Well, we're all hoping and praying for that, Brenda, and I'm hoping and praying that you can keep good health until the 10th of September and enjoy your retirement. Lindsay, no choice but to work. So many of us on the front line, and this is true. Yeah. Janet Jones, government seem to have no duty of care or responsibility to us. It's very worrying and it's unkind. Bev, you don't know you have some problems. Yes, a routine blood test at 60 revealed I'd lost 50% of kidney function. they don't even know why after a biopsy. Thankfully it's stable, but very frightening when you have no symptoms. Yeah, so that was what I was talking about earlier, that, you know, our risk at 60, it goes up markedly anyway, but if you then have, you know, an underlying condition which is only picked up routinely, all of a sudden you've got this even bigger increase to your risk. So for example, with heart disease, it puts your risk up, I think it's to 10%, which is, you know, I mean, that is a massively high risk, isn't it? You can go on to a site called Worldometers, and on there is a list of the conditions and the effects on your risk at certain ages. It's very revealing. Yeah, duty of care, Janista. Where is their duty of care? And, you know, I do feel as well that employers are they're taking the easy route out, following the government guidelines, rather than using their own liabilities and duty of care that they have to their employees. It is a big concern. So Marion, I'm disabled, cannot go to work. I've always worked in the past. However, my disability became worse. My jobs have been part-time and I have 4 children to look after. My husband works shifts, no pension. My husband has retired and has a pension. I have to rely on him as I have no personal money. Now, how can that ever be right? You know, we were told that, you know, as women, that, you know, years ago we had to rely on our husbands, you know, that was the way it was, but things apparently have changed, and all of a sudden we seem to have all these rights which actually are not rights. It seems to me that they're just written down on paper and are a little bit worthless, really. And to say in this day and age that we need to rely on our husbands, I don't have a husband, so what am I supposed to do? You know, I have to rely on me. We pay our own taxes, so how come all of a sudden, you know, your husband is responsible for you? You pay your taxes and you work, or you come under the government's care system. Actually, I get quite furious about that, but I'm going to try and keep my calm, really. Donna, coming up to retirement on 30th of October. Something, hopefully until then, hoping for good news for the appeal. My wife is 17 years younger than me, so she's watching too. Okay, Donna. So, in your case, you're going to be retired and you have a younger wife of 17 years, which, you know, if we have this discriminatory and misogynist policies, this could affect you in the future. Karen Giles, I've just given and worked 6 weeks notice and worked at home, as I worked in a surgery office, which when I left a few weeks ago there was no distancing in place. Now they've put distancing measures in place. They wanted me to go back, but still not enough done. I'm 63, not sure I will work again, and I feel very let down by the government. Yeah, this is something that a lot of people, I read a lot of people feel very, very let down. You know, you do the right thing, you pay your taxes, you know, you work when you're able to, and then when it comes to paying out the pension, which we all were told we would get our pension at 60, no reason to think it had changed. I was never notified. I think there was a small proportion of people that were notified, but even those that were notified, it was very, very last minute, with not enough time to prepare and not enough time to build up any savings or investment in to get a pension that would help us to survive our older age. And realistically, how many of us were in jobs where we could have saved anyway? You know, it was just, I think, I think it was expected that we wouldn't fight back, but you know what, we are fighting back and we're never giving in, and you know, we will fight till our last breath to get this injustice righted. Yeah, Helen, yes, not much care of staff in the caring professions, and absolutely, and so whether it be that you're looking after older relatives or whether you've got child care business, very little support for these people who who can't work for whatever reason. No benefits again for many of them because of the nature of the work. And the other thing is that when people have their own businesses, you have to go through so many hoops to actually access the government's help for self-employed people. So, where are we going now? Karen Glynn, Manchester City Council risk assessment only states men 60 plus at risk and pregnant women. All others are classed as workers. It's not fit for purpose. Oh, I've not heard that one before, Karen. Men 60 plus at risk and pregnant women. That's very strange, isn't it? Because the government actually are acknowledging 70 plus. World Health Organisation says 60 plus for all of us. Oh, dear me. Right. Mandy Bernal. You pity you couldn't get that in right. It does sound like discrimination, I would agree, Mandy. How can that be? You know, we do know that, well, what the medics are saying and the scientists are saying is that men seem to have been adversely affected by this virus. People from the BAME groups have been disproportionately affected. But however, uniquely 50s women who are also in the group that could potentially be affected according to the World Health Organisation, were in the position of not having a pension, not being looked after, and more often than men are in these low paid 0 hours contracts of work, whereby if we don't go into work, then we don't get paid and we don't have anything to fall back on. And if you don't have a husband, you haven't got a husband to support you either. So goodness knows, what we're supposed to do. Let's see. Sorry, I did something and jumped through the messages there. Let me just see if I can scroll back. I'm trying not to miss any. Just give me 1 second. So perhaps there was a whole lot of messages came in at the same time, I think. Anne Fenner, remember everybody, full restitution is the only solution. Tell your MPs before they go on recess. Yes, recess coming up. So yes, try and write to your MPs if you can. For some reason this is jumping. I'm just going to have to go backwards. I'll go back until I catch up. Linda Taylor, I've got no money of my own. I feel guilty spending my husband's money. I'm 65, 66 in October. Stress affects our immune system. Yes, I agree with you, Jane. Fear after stress also lowers the immune system. So what with age, it will lessen our lives anyway, sadly. Sandra Wilcock, my work colleague told me I went on government website to find out and even that was wrong. First time I logged on I was 58. That sounds very similar to me because I certainly didn't find out about my pension until I was, my pension was changed until I was about 58. So it would have been, 2011. I was due to get it in 2013. I found out that it was being changed. And then in 2013, I then found out it was going to be changed again with no notice. I never had a letter. And yet, do you know what? When they told me my pension was finally due, they found me, and I think I'd moved 3 times since then. So, you know, they find you when they need to find you. They find you for your tax, and yet they couldn't find us to send us letters. So it is ridiculous. Jenny, some people never pay tax or NI, yet when they retire, get government help, probably nearly as much or as much as I will when I get my pension. I paid since the age of 15. So unfair. Yes, Jenny. No notice from Jane. Oh. Sue gets £70 a month pension and universal credit take it off their monthly payment. Oh my goodness, universal credit. The great evil, I would say. Can't work due to a health problem, Linda. Totally agree over lack of notice. 60 in 2014, I had less than 2 years notice only, so you were notified, but 2 years, really, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? As I say, I didn't have any notice at all. It was just that I happened to go onto the website regularly because I knew I was going to have to look after myself. You know, that I was a single person, and so I used to keep an eye on my pension. Was told that my pension was good. I had all the stamps and everything, and yet when I finally did get my pension, I noticed that the amount that they told me I was getting was less, and that turned out to be that my pension was in an opt-out pension with the NHS. So a lot of government pensions are like this, and they knock off so much time, so many years or a percentage, and reduce your pension accordingly. So I don't even get a full pension, and I had 45 years, qualifying years. But what they did, they increased the qualifying years from 30 to 35, and even with 45 qualifying years, I still couldn't get a full pension, and nor could I buy back years because I was due to retire. It was just catch-22, and for those of you on Twitter, you might have seen me post it. The explanation I got, it was gobbledygook, and then they said, oh, we've made a slight mistake on your pension calculation. I think it was something like 20 pence too little, something ridiculous like this. How would I know? There was. I said, could you give me a formula to work it out? No, they didn't have a formula. So it's all done through computer algorithms, and nobody knows how they work it out. So it could be right, it could be wrong, and I suppose the only way is to actually challenge them individually. Yeah, Jane, thank you. Oh, thank you as well. We're losing the best years of our lives, sadly. It's just too stressful. I would agree it is. Diane, 59 when I found out. My ex-manager told me she was retiring and had deferred hers. Right. Janista talking about full restitution. I'm going backwards, so it's probably just a little bit out of sync. Karen says, totally betrayed. Employers knew. Wouldn't they be angry having to pay their contributions for an additional 6 years? Absolutely, 6 years. You know, it's like, basically it's 6 years lost income. You know, that's what it amounts to. And how can anybody really afford to lose 6 years in income? Should we ask our MPs if they'd like to lose 6 years of their income? I'm sure they'd be up in arms. But actually, when you look at their pension plan, which I understand is paid for by the general public, their pension plan, they were allowed certain concessions if they were within 10 years of retirement when they changed the pension plan, and it is just gold-plated. So they knew that was in was that 2015? They knew the right things to do, and they didn't do them for the 1950s born women. So, you know, they can't even say, well, we didn't know. They certainly made sure their pension was okay. Teresa, we all deserve our pensions now. We've worked since the age of 15, no notification, and supposed to carry on till 66. I totally agree with you, Teresa. by that age I'll be needing a Zimmer frame to get to the people I'm supposed to be caring for. I have osteoporosis in both hips, just need my pension, I'm tired, I need a break. Well, you know what, that's a little bit of shot of humour, Teresa, thank you for that. But yeah, it's not funny, is it, really? I mean, I was pushing people around at 65 who were a lot younger than me, you know, when I was in my last year of nursing. And I was doing not the hardcore nursing at that time. I was doing research, so you know, not doing the washing and the caring and the putting people into bed, which is what our carers do when they're looking after the elderly, people in nursing homes and things. And you know, it isn't right, is it? You know, there has to be a time limit on certain jobs as to what age you work to, surely. Didn't have a clue, Jill. Oh, Karen. My husband died just before pension age. Our joint contributions 80 years. No widow's pension, nothing. Oh, I'm so sorry, Karen. This is just, it's just so sad, isn't it? So in 2016, they changed the rules around the pensions again, and this is when they changed the years. Didn't tell anybody, by the way, that the contribution years would go up from 30 to 35, and they also stopped the widow's pension. I'm sure that was in 2016 too. Karen would perhaps be able to confirm. And I actually remember seeing something on TV, and it was an army, armed forces widow, and the guy just said to her, well, there, dear, you'll be okay, you know. You know, I think something about you have your husband, you have your husband to look after you now. No, she can't have been a widow. You'll have your husband to look after you now. And you're like, but really? You know, it's just this whole attitude to women, this there, little woman, you'll be okay, which is, you know, is heartbreaking. I just thought it's worth mentioning, these are two stories. I can't verify these, but I did see them on Twitter. One was from a lady who had said that she had been asked to join the armed forces at 65 through job seekers. Another lady who'd mentioned that she had serious health issues and was being asked to be a lifeguard, you know, and was sanctioned actually, if that story is true, by the DWP. Terrible stuff that's going on here. So yeah, lots of people, you know, are going through really traumatic times. And, you know, this is really bad. But, you know, I think we need also, just to make it clear, you know, the point as well is that, you know, it really doesn't matter where you are financially. At the end of the day, this is our pension. You know, we had an agreement with the government to retire at 60, and every woman, regardless of their financial situation, is entitled to that pension and was entitled to have had sufficient notice in order to make alternative plans. We had neither. So, you know, it doesn't really matter if one person's wealthy or one person's not. And I really object to these people who criticise us and call us greedy, and say that, you know, we shouldn't be fighting for our pension. Think of this person and that person. And yes, we do. You know, all of us, I think, we all have certain situations in our own personal lives that affect us. But at the end of the day, this isn't about that. This is about money that's owed to us. You know, we had an agreement. They didn't tell us they were changing it. And everybody is entitled to their pension in full. So back to 60, I've been supporting them since 2018, and for me, their ask always aligned with my own personal views, which is where every single woman who was born in the 1950s who was due to retire at 60 is entitled to their full pension returned to them. It was stolen, and so we're entitled to that money back, regardless of your situation. And you know, I don't accept any criticism from the trolls and from the people who would criticise what our ask is. For me, back to 60 are doing the right and the just the just thing for all 1950s born women, and I certainly would not be prepared to accept crumbs. And I could very well have, you know, done that. You know, it probably would have benefited me in some ways, but then that would have been at the expense of my fellow 1950s born women, and I'm not prepared to accept that. And I will continue fighting for us all to get what we're owed. And we've got the court case coming up soon, and we have a just cause, and so yes, we just need to keep on fighting, get the message out there, write to our MPs, get in touch with your GPs as well if you're being pressured to go back to work and you don't think this is right. I'm just going to have a little look at some more messages. Billy Brister. My letter age 57 said, you may be aware the SPA has changed. A few months later, they changed the wording to other recipients and actually quoted the 95 and 2011 Acts. They think we are stupid. Well, we're not. Sister is 18 months younger, so we are both... Oh, I think that's just not quite finished. Brenda Haig, I'm a carer for my daughter. I will get my pension in December when I'm 66 and will be caring for my daughter. Helen, I did see you'd put something on about your sister. I wonder if you could just repeat that because I've lost your message. Let's have a look, see. Yeah, Jane, yes, it's theft in my honest opinion. Back to 64 restitution, absolutely, says Jill. Me too, Janet. Manda King, why are unions not putting pressure on for us? I'm sure Matt can answer that one. The unions are very much supporting us. We've got Unison and Unite fully backing us here. Oh, you're welcome, Jenny. We keep fighting. Julia, thank you, Sheila. We're very strong. Together we are strong and we're not giving up. Absolutely, Julia. We are very strong together. And Mac, well said, Sheila. It cost absolutely zero to give back what they stole off 50s women. Janista, we're all in this together. Back to 60 have got it right. Follow our asks and we can all make a difference. And Helen Devonshire Jones, I'm 63 and was widowed in 2014. Sorry to hear that. Received monthly payments a year, which helped, but no widow's pension after that, and no private pension from my late husband. This has been a big shock for a lot of people, that the big pension changes they made and didn't tell us. Helena Jansen Van Huren worked less additional years than many, 4 years, 9 months. Very similar, well, like me, Helena, I think we're the same month and year. On pension now, but full restitution is crucial for most of us. I believe, cannot make up a loss of 4 years, 9 months pension taken and still have to take work where and when I can find it. Aside from the virus, I found that ageism is something else to deal with now. Hard of hearing and have cataracts. The commentary is not something I should have to deal with at this age, well, at any age. Full restitution is the only way I can see the future being manageable again. Here, Helena, and this is another hidden disadvantage that we have to deal with, as women working into our older years. We're not given any sort of leeway because of our age and our weakening health as we get older. Certainly as nurses, sometimes I used to feel that the older ladies worked harder just to prove that they could still do the job, and yet you'd get laughed at behind your back. It's awful, really. You've had misogyny, then we have ageism, we just need our money back, really. Yes, Anne, thank goodness for Joanne Welch, Moblo and the Back to 60 team at Back to 60. Where would we be without them? And our fab expert team whose support is overwhelming. Thank you to them all. 100% agree with you, Anne, there. This team has been amazing. I'm so glad that I joined in with Back to 60. So for everybody, because we've not got an awful lot of time left, please do go on to the Back to 60 website. So that's back260.com if you haven't done already, and subscribe there. It's free. We don't charge anything for joining Back to 60. and you will get all the latest news, which will be published on there. That's the only official channel where news about the court case, anything that's to do with Back to 60 will all be going in there, and you will get an email on a regular basis with a heads up on the latest news. So do go there and have a look and read some of the stories on there about other women, read the old reports and the old news reports. On Twitter today and yesterday, one of our team did an amazing thread, 25 tweets, documenting the history of Back to 60 and their pension campaign. It's well worth a read, with links to various videos and interviews and articles for you to look at. So again, if you're on Twitter, do go and have a look at Back to 60. So that's 2020 comms on Back to at 2020 comms. Go along and take a look at the posts on there. I'm known on there as at tactical_blonde. You can have a look at posts that I put out, and you know, if you follow any one of us, if you put in hashtag Back to 60, you will find the posts from the various members of the team and the latest news that you can access. And of course, all of you are here on Facebook as well. And I know that Anne Fenner does a great job of updating. Oh, sorry, I think I just lost connection there. Sorry. Okay, let's have a look now. Sandra, the press should be telling the public too. Chandra Palmer, is anyone allowed to attend court next week? Well, again, if you look on back260.com, they are live streaming this court case. Go to back260.com, look at the latest news on there. There's a link on there for you to access the court case via video, well, like live streaming, like we're doing today here. Oh, Andrea, the RCN are also backing us. You've seen something? I've not seen anything from the RCN, but I'd be very interested if you've got some information on that. Post it up onto the Back to 60 group here. I'd be keen to have a look at that. Yvonne Moore, born in 1956, no notice of increase in state pension age. I'm wishing my life away to being 66. My husband is 10 years older than me, and our retirement plans have been ruined. We've been disadvantaged our entire lives. Lots of us never went to university, went straight to the workplace. Most younger people stay on at school until 18, then do 3 or 5 years at university. I'm fed up of being told that it's unfair to expect the younger generation to pay our pensions, but all of our working lives we've paid the money into the pot to pay for the older generations. I was told I needed to get married to buy a house, and the mortgage interest rates were 15%, and to add insult to injury, the endowment mortgage left a huge shortfall. I hope we win the appeal. Yes, these are just some of the things that happened to us who were born in the 1950s. And you're absolutely right, most of us did go directly into the workplace. Maybe it's time that they actually looked at the whole structure, you know, of how the pension is funded in the future. But you can't just go and do it by stealing money off 1950s born women. Yeah, all governments were involved in this. You know, it's not just one government. Excuse me. It's not just one government. All governments were party to this theft of our pensions, and all of them need to get together really. And I say all governments and all parties. They never did anything to stop this. And you know, this situation could have been solved years ago, but you have to ask yourself, why do they keep delaying? Why do they keep delaying as we get older and older? I know what I think, and I'll leave you to your own thoughts on that one. Yeah, not only stole our pension, but our health and happiness too. Do you know, that is such a good point, Yaz. You know, for me, you know, money can be replaced to a certain extent, but it's our futures, our time, you know, our time with our families, our time with our grandchildren, our time with our friends, our time to relax. And working past the retirement age that we expected during ill health shortens our lives, no question of that. You know, women's lives now are getting shorter. You know, there is that good evidence to show that. And that's what they've done. They have actually stolen our health and happiness. That cannot be replaced, can it? But they can replace the money. And so we are always going to fight for full restitution. Oh, and don't forget to share the CEDAW petitions, please, if you haven't already, and share. Yes, the CEDAW petitions. So I saw that Jackie Jones, who leads on this, was in the room. So yes, please do share those petitions. They are on Twitter. Anne Fenner will tell you if they're on CEDAW. I'm sure they are on CEDAW. Sorry, on Facebook, and I'm sure they are. So this is to eliminate discrimination against women. This petition is really, really important, and the more people we can get to sign it, the better. And it won't just affect us, but it will affect younger generations of women coming after us. So, you know, we do owe it to our to womankind, really, to get this CEDAW acted upon. Yeah, Sandra, I agree. Our personal financial circumstances are not the point. We and our employers, good point, paid in. We have a right to our pensions, which were promised to us at age 60 when we began our working lives in the late 60s, early 70s. And the condescending attitudes and remarks of those like IDS and AW make me so angry. Yeah, it's a good point you've made there. Is about the employers. So it wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just us that paid in. It was a tripartite agreement, and you know, the employer paid in, the worker paid in, and then the government also paid in, and was meant to put this in towards to put towards our pensions. I know a percentage was taken out for healthcare as well, but you know, essentially we all made an agreement. So they haven't just stolen our money, they've also stolen what the employers paid in also. And so now, where are we now? You know, in 2020, the triple whammy. And if any of you have not seen it yet, please do go and look at the film, the triple whammy. That again is on the Back to 60 website. I don't know if it's been posted here on Facebook. Anne Fenner will be able to let you know about that. But that sort of details what has happened to women facing life today without their pensions, and facing COVID situation as well. So, you know, I think we've been discriminated, you know, throughout our lives, you know, and now we're being discriminated against in our later years. You know, when will this end, really? You know, I don't understand why they don't care about us, and you know, people should care. You know, we are them. We are mums, we are grandmums. I don't understand why people are not caring for us. It's time, you know, we care for other people, and it's about time people just cared, and cared enough to fight for what's right as well. You know, sometimes you just have to just fight. You know, we're going to fight for justice here, and we do need to do that. So I think we're just about coming up to close. I'll read the last couple of messages on here. Jill says, heartfelt thanks to everyone involved in Back to 60 and bringing us this far, for not giving up and for fighting, for staying positive. Together we can do this, praying for the result we all so deserve. Thank you, Jill. Mary Brunton, everyone should have dignity in old age, and we've been stripped of it. Very true. Jumbo, thank you so much for this evening, Sheila. It's been a really good live stream. Oh, thank you, Jumbo. Michaela Hawkins, that's our Mac. Gloria Mills, Equality Officer, Unison, have stated that Unison support Back to 60 and CEDAW. Remember, you can't support one without the other. Thank you for that, Mac, and thank you for the union support and for all you've done for us to get the unions on board, and to Gloria. I met Gloria as well. She's a lovely lady, very passionate about justice for women. Yeah, I've been honoured, I must admit, on this journey. I mean, I never expected that I would be here talking to, to you ladies and gentlemen about, what's happened to us 1950s born women. Never in my life did I think that this would happen. The plus side has been, that I've met some absolutely fantastic women, very strong women. I mean, our leader, Jo, she is indefatigable. She is like a steamroller. She just keeps going and going and going, and never ever backs down on what she believes in. With the fantastic support of Mo, who manages the team and keeps us on track. Fantastic. You've got Anne on here who manages a Facebook page. You've got Mac, union rep, who's fought ferociously for us. Our little Welsh firecracker, love her. You've got Jackie Jones, the former MEP, who has consistently fought to get CEDAW recognised and implemented into British law. And then you've got our wonderful claimants, who, without them, we would never have got as far as we have. Taking this case, which must have. They've been incredibly brave to do that for us. So thank you both. Julia, definitely increased ageism in the media recently. We find this every time we get near to something exciting, this whole ageism starts. But basically, I think we have to ignore the haters and go with all the positive stuff, and just keep going. It's a great team. We've got fantastic supporters. Not everybody can do the active work, but in the background, if you can share, if you can, even if you can just share with your friends and get the message out that we're still fighting this, that this injustice will be solved. And we've got an amazing legal team. Michael Mansfield, yeah, world class. So we're extremely lucky. And of course, I mustn't forget David Henke, without who all these articles that he's written on our behalf, and his investigative journalism, second to none. So yeah, fantastic team of experts and fabulous supporters. Pauline, wow, it's a long one here. This government and subsequent ones have withheld not only money but our time with our loved ones, time to follow hobbies, care without exhaustion for loved ones, grandchildren, ourselves, voluntary work, and to work if we choose to. Changed the goalpost numerous times. I'm 66 in November, underlying heart condition, exhausted, self-employed, earning less than I did in my 20s, getting by, full restitution, no crumbs, thanks to all at Back to 60. The best and love. So thank you so much for that, Pauline, and sorry that you're going through so much. Diane, as Michael Mansfield said, they've created a subclass of women, just thrown us over a cliff. So true. Linda Davies, without Back to 60 we'd be lost. Thanks to everyone in Back to 60 for all you do to support us. It's a great group to be part of. Bring on the 21st of July. Kathy Weaver. Catherine Shaw, thank you for being here tonight. Such an injustice. Thank you. Thank you for everybody that's attended tonight. I'm so grateful to you all. And it was meant to be a friendly chat and a time for us to air our feelings about all this injustice, and I hope that that's helped you, and I'm sending you all love and positivity for next week. Keep in touch with us on Facebook, keep in touch with us on Twitter, and if you haven't, as I said before, do join backto60.com and get the latest news. Oh, Sandra, you've if you could either DM Anne Fenner, or if you're on Twitter, DM me at Tactical Blonde and I'll see what we can do for you. Frida, oh yeah, thank you, Frida. Yes, stay strong, everybody. Oh, you're welcome, Jill. It's been good for me too. Oh, thanks, Anne. Oh, Oh, another one. Yeah, if you haven't received emails, please do just get in touch with Anne Fenner on here. She can pass your names on to us and we'll have a look at the website and see what's happened there with your emails. It might just be an error in some, you know, the way the email's been added or something. Oh, thank you, Pauline. That's very nice of you to say so. But I am passionate about what we're doing, and yes, we will not give up. Thank you, Kathy. I think my time is about up, actually. We're actually past 8 o'clock, so I'm going to wish you all very, very well. Thank you for the comments. That's been really great. And, well, we'll hopefully see you on the other side of this. Okay, so take care, everybody, and keep safe. All right. Bye-bye.